Connor, thank you very, very much. Well, my next guest knows that the administration is considering any and all options, but he doesn't really have much faith that the proper options are going to be taken. I'm talking about radio talk show host, constitutional scholar, Mark Levin. Mark, very good to see you.
Good to see you, Neil.
What do you make of what's disintegrating in Iraq right now and what we should do?
Well, I make the conclusion that this democracy project didn't work and couldn't work. I make the conclusion that this administration couldn't work and doesn't work. And the president's going off to play golf and think about his options. It's the most outrageous thing I've ever seen. We're not going to be able to put this government back together like he was talking about, that they have to get over their differences. They're not going to get over their differences. The reason we need to attack these caravans of barbarians that are going through these stretches of the desert is to protect us and our allies. Do you think it's going to stop in Iraq? There's a tiny country there that can't defend itself. We call it Jordan. There's another tiny country there that can't defend itself. It's called Kuwait. Now, this thing has the potential to spread, and I don't think the Israelis are going to sit around and watch this forever either. So people who say, what business is it ours? It's our business now, whether we like it or not, whether we like the democracy project or not, or whether we like Obama or not. I am not an expert on foreign policy or military policy, but when I see caravans of barbarians who are decapitating people who supported us, going down street after street after street, and our bombers and our jet fighters just sit there getting rusty, that bothers me a lot.
Also, something that's bothered you is this swap we had for Sergeant Bergdahl, of course, has been going through this debriefing right now in Texas. That deal and that arrangement, you think has put us at a further disadvantage. Explain.
First of all, I still want to know the circumstances of how he left his unit and wound up with these barbarians. I mean, I'm sure they didn't treat him like one of a long-lost son. That was a fait accompli. I'd like to know about that, but I would like to know what kind of mind in the White House would release these 5 mass murderers. And look, more and more information's coming out about them. We know exactly who they are. The Taliban insisted on these 5. It's absolutely outrageous that here we are, we're still in Afghanistan, you see what's going on in Iraq, that we would take these 5 men and release them. I mean, 9/11 tells us don't release these guys, keep them in Gitmo, but the president is so ideologically committed to shutting down that prison because of his knucklehead left wing, rather than protecting this country. And when he released those 5 barbarians, he did grievous harm to this country. This is going to come back to bite us. God forbid, but it is.
You know, a lot of people have been saying that the president also senses this war fatigue in America and that there's little risk to him politically if he were not to go the extra mile to help Iraq right now and just pull a Vietnam and leave.
First of all, the president's not up for re-election. He's got his damn pen in his phone. Why doesn't he do something with it as commander-in-chief, which he's able to do something with? I'm not one of these interventionists, but I'm sure as hell not one of these pacifists either. And the fact of the matter is there's a mess there. We lost men there. I know families who lost their sons there. It's a horrible thing. I've been to Arlington National Cemetery, like many people, row after row after row of young people who died fighting there. And oh, what do we have to do with it? What do you mean, what do we have to do with it? These barbarians are taking their trucks. They're driving down there. We could pick them off. We could deal with that. We don't have to send troops in there. We don't have to send infantry in there, and we shouldn't.
Switching gears, if you don't mind, the Eric Cantor stunning upset has a lot of people thinking that something bigger is going on in the Republican Party than the mainstream Republican Party has been saying. Others, like Chris Christie, this is unique local politics, unique to that 7th district in Virginia. What do you say?
Well, I say I hope Chris Christie believes that, and I hope he runs on that so he loses. I hope Jeb Bush believes that, so he runs on it so he loses. Let me tell you something. There are no changes taking place in the Republican Party on Capitol Hill and in Washington. Things are going on outside in these communities, however, and people are furious with the status quo. They are disgusted with what this president is doing to our country.
Mark, wouldn't that have popped up in some of these other races where mainstreamers handily, fought off challengers?
You know what, Neil, this is very interesting. They come in 5, 10, 20 to 1 with dollars. We have people who show up and run. Many of them are unknown. We win some and we lose some. And maybe we'll win more than we would. But I'm going to tell you something. If the Republican Party thinks that the people are... Let me put it to you this way. Do you think the people in the country are happy with what's going on in Washington? Do you think they're happy with what's going on the southern border with refugees, like we're the third world? That they're happy with massive debt and deficits? The fact that some of these senators can lie their way to re-election, and some of these House members can lie their way to re-election, funded by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and others, and pat themselves on the back for how they deceive the American people, that will not last forever. It simply won't.
And it didn't in a Virginia district. Mark, I know you don't give yourself credit for what happened in there, but you had a thing or two to decide about what happened there. Mark Levin.
No, I don't take credit, but thank you.
All right, Mark, always good seeing you.